Yo yo, Husman here. Today I'm gonna talk about music making. When it comes to music, I always use the analogy of a bedroom. As a person, your own bedroom is your own personal space where you are some sort of the boss, the owner at. It's a really personal thing for you, which you can craft how you want it. You can put the things in the room how you want them. And the same goes with making music. For the purpose of this video, let's say you have an average sized room. In this room you have the basic necessities like the bed, like the nightstand, like the closets, like a rug. I think that's how you pronounce it, a rug. Moving on, a desk where you can work at, some accessories like posters or a TV. As you can see, all these elements take up space in your room. And the same goes for making music. Every element has to have its place inside the song. See where I'm going yet? Yes? No? We'll get there. Let's say your bed is your kick, your synths are in your closet, your nightstand is where you have your bass, your percussion, you have your instruments on your rug, you have your desk where you put your vocals, and your FX you put as your accessories like with the TV or the posters in your room. The kick is a very important part in every song, especially in dance music, and the same goes for your bed in your bedroom. So make sure you have enough room for your kick and make sure you have enough room in your bed so you can sleep well at night. The closet is where things get tricky. People tend to want to buy new clothes so they can look good on the streets and on parties, but there's only so much room left in the closet. The same thing goes for stacking lead synths and synths altogether. The more layers of synths you stack on a track, the more difficult it will get to make these fit into the mixdown of your track. So that is something to take in consideration when you're working on a track. Maybe you just don't need 6 layers of the same lead sound, maybe you just need different kind of sounds so they really accentuate each other in the mix of your track. Nightstands are super handy, but there's only so much that you need to put in them or pile on top of them. The same thing goes with bass lines and percussion. You need to make sure that you know which kind of frequencies you're gonna use, especially for bass lines. Not all bass lines will have to be in the sub frequencies. Sometimes it's good to just cut your mid bass or your distorted high bass to a point where the sub is not peeking through anymore. For example, when you have a really huge sub bass going on, you don't always need to have the mid bass or distorted bass to be playing in the sub frequencies, because the sub is already playing in those frequencies. Well then, the most difficult thing for me to pronounce, the rug, is where you put your instruments. As the same with a rug, you don't need to put a rug in the whole place of your room. The same goes with your instruments. It's not always needed to have a rug, but they give a little bit more warmth to the room. And the same goes for instruments. And that's where instrument can really enhance your breakdown, give some warmth to the track. But it's not needed to have your instrument playing throughout the whole track, especially not in dance music. But it can, of course. If you're making a track that contains a vocal, it's really important that you make some space in your track for that vocal. A vocal is a really specific part in a track because a vocal becomes really fast the most important part of the track. So it's really important when you receive a cool vocal that you make space in your track with your instruments, your drums, your bass lines. The same thing goes with a room. If you want to work in your desk, it's great to have some room to work and don't have to be like squished in the middle so you can barely hit the keyboard. The icing on the cake, as I like to call it when making music, is your effects, your impacts, your risers. These really blend your track together and make it like one complete track. And the same goes with your accessories in the room. They really give some little character and themes to your room. Now, what happens when I buy way too many clothes, dump all my useless junk on my nightstands and leave all kind of useless junk throughout my room? My room will become a mess. The same thing goes for making music. In a production you need to make sure that everything has its place, so that you have enough room for your kick, for your bass, your synths, your vocals. Everything needs to have its place. And sometimes your track will greatly improve when you just take stuff out. And it's sometimes a little bit counterintuitive when thinking that way, but less is, I keep repeating this, more. Now, one way to narrow down what you perhaps don't need in your track is to ask yourself one question: which element in my track is the most important element of your track? And when you know that, you can build everything else around it, and you really can keep in the backside of your head, that's the element I want to stick out, and everything else will just be there to enhance that main element, that main lead group, that main vocal that you really want to get across. In the end, you want your room to look like this, and definitely not like this. So my tip for today would be to keep your room and your music clean and tidy. Think about which element goes where. A clean room equals great music and a great night of sleep. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. hit a like if you want to, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care, bye bye.